So my name's Carol DeVille, and I'm actually the chair of Canada. So there's a ton of exciting things that will be happening over the course of the next 5 days. So please take a look through your schedule. There's a number of meet and greets. We've got the Image Awards. We've got an exciting show with more suppliers than ever. So we're really looking forward to an incredible week here at MTCC as well as the Intercontinental. A couple of things. Talking about the live streaming, we have 8 sessions that will be live streamed. And as you can see on your table, there is an 8-session special, which is $148 to be able to take advantage of the live streaming if you're unable to attend some of the various different education seminars. A couple of announcements as far as accreditation, and I was just chatting at the back of the room. PPAI has come up with 2 new elements to the accreditation process. One is, it's called a TAS, Trained Advertising Specialist. You need 25 credits and no exam to qualify for the TAS. And they've added one more at the extreme level, which is your MAS Plus. So I encourage you all to take a look or stop by either our booth or PPAI will be at our booth, Melissa Hendricks, and take a look at what it means, how to be qualified, and realize that there's only 125 people in Canada that have their MAS or CAS. So be a part of an elite group, gives you some enormous educational opportunities, networking opportunities, as well as some great bragging rights for your company. So I do encourage you to continue. I had the opportunity of spending some time with Jen Carver, the Women's Empowerment, and over the years being in the industry. So I'm really pleased to see that she's actually going to spend some time to be able to present to you today. She's very dynamic. She has over 10 years experience in the industry and comes from the East Coast. So well done, Easterners. Not only has she been in the industry with a ton of experience on phone solicitation as far as being able to endorse and streamline the quote process, she's also an Image Award winner and has won 2 Image Awards already in her career. So we look forward to seeing her off on stage again.
Hopefully.
Right, Jen? A couple of things that I can share with you is, although majority of her presentations have been over the phone to customers in the Maritimes and Western Canada, she's adept in applying these concepts and sharing knowledge, a knowledgeable aspect from her perspective. You may recognize her as her smiling face is a common sight on the promotional product shows across the nation. I'd like you to welcome Jen Carver and enjoy your session. And on behalf of the PPPC, its members, I would like to offer you a small promotional product as a token of your appreciation. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience with us today. And on your desk, you have some paper, pens, and of course, a lovely keychain and education components. So, Jen, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. Think we're loud here? Okay, good. Everybody can hear me okay? Streamline the quote process. Well, I'll give you a little bit more background. I've been here, for about 10 years, and when I first started in the industry as an inside sales rep, we manage 3,000 accounts. It's a lot of accounts. And you've got to try to make sure you're making as many people feel special and touched as possible. And how do you do that and try to manage those 3,000 accounts? And I'm not sure about all of you, but I'm pretty sure this sounds familiar. The more touch points you put out, you're out there, you're talking to your customers, you're having some coffee, some lunch, they start to trust you, and all these projects start to come in. And those take about twice as much time normally as touching point with your customers. And before you know it, you're buried in paper. Because let's face it, here's my ideal day. I have it slotted out like we have to slot out our time. You turn off the phones, you turn off the email, and you literally take an hour to 2 hours a day, and you're calling out. And you schedule this. You schedule who you're going to call, who you're going to touch point with. So you come in the morning, and there it is. There's your scheduled day. Beautiful. You're going to just nail it. But one of the things we love about this industry and why we tend to stay in it so long is you never know what's going to happen in the course of a day. And it's pretty common that that schedule goes out the window because an RFP comes in or that sort of thing. So one of the things we also hate about our industry is you never know what's going to come across your desk on a given day. And so, again, in an ideal world, you guys are all out and you're visiting your customers, you're getting those quotes, you're getting those projects, you're making $1 million a year, you're closing up shop at 5 o'clock, you're going to have dinner with the kids and seeing the baseball game. Sounds pretty good, right? And we all know reality is very different. especially at RFP time. Holy cow, you've got paperwork up to here. And before we know it, my favorite quote from John Lennon, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. So you've got your ideal vision, you've got your plan of your day, even your week. Hey, this is who I'm going to go. And we all know it goes to hell in a handbasket pretty quickly, sometimes within the first 15 minutes of walking into the office. And really, your day ends up, and your desk ends up, looking like this. And you're crawling in paperwork. And you find instead of going out and reaching those customers, talking to those customers, building those relationships, you're pushing quote paper on your desk all day. And you just don't find you're getting out to do the selling. And frankly, we're all salespeople. We like to talk. We like to schmooze. We don't like to do paperwork and detailed stuff as much. So this is kind of what we look like, right? But the reality is some weeks, by the end of the week, by Friday night, I'm not looking like that gentleman. I'm looking a lot closer to this gentleman. And let's face it, we would all like to avoid looking like creepy, crazy guy. But I'm sure we can relate to this, especially fourth quarter, the last 2 weeks of November. This is what we're all probably looking like. Maybe not literally, but certainly feeling like on the inside. So this is what we really want to avoid. So when I first started in the industry, I was all over the place. And realized very quickly, if I don't get a strategy in place, I'm never going to be able to effectively manage this 3,000 account territory and make money. So as I kind of kept working things out, I kind of came up with a few processes, basically 3 main strategies that I used on a daily basis. And I found when I stuck to these, boy, did my workload lighten up. I was able to do that 2 hours a day proactive outbound calling and still get all my quotes and still shut my computer down at 6 o'clock at night and leave. So hopefully I'm going to share these strategies with you guys. I'm a feedback person. If you guys do the Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFJ. I'm an E. I like feedback. This is how I work. So as I'm presenting and talking things, if you guys have comments, questions, concerns, anything, throw them out. And I'm going to be asking you guys as well, your thoughts. I want to get that interactive. This is being videotaped, so if I ask a question, it's dead silence. That's going to be really uncomfortable. So please, let's make sure we're having a fantastic interaction here. And let's get going. So as an overview, here's what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about effective information gathering, leveraging knowledge, and limiting your options. And as I said, the whole goal is really by applying my thoughts and my strategies on this to definitely add some time to that day, to do what we love to do as salespeople, and that's sell. So, effective information gathering. So I have a question for all of you guys. What are we in the business of? Okay, here's one of those uncomfortable silences.
Providing solutions.
Yes, definitely. Are we in the business of selling promotional products? No. No. In my opinion, no, we're not. That will come. Everybody can pick up. I mean, they don't even have to use us. They can go to a stationery store and get a zippered padfolio with a pad in it, right? We're not selling. We're selling relationships. I didn't win Image Award because I sell a zippered padfolio and a 600D bag with a screen print on it. I won an Image Award because I built relationships with my customers and they felt I had their back. They felt I was their advocate, and we had great relationships. That's why. So my philosophy is always building relationships is the single most important thing we can do as salespeople, because one order pays my credit card bill. The repeat orders pay my mortgage. And it's the repeat orders that come from relationships. So that's what we really, really want to focus in on, is how do we build those relationships. And I have a couple ideas on that. So people do, I mean, tons of marketing. And it's really a no-brainer. People do business with people they feel care for them, like them, trust them, that sort of thing. Good example is, I don't know if you noticed, but I have purple hair. Not a common color. It is the new blonde, ladies. I have the most incredible hairdresser. She's a young little pup, just pretty much out of hairdressing school, and she's fearless. She's like me. She's pretty fearless. And so when I say, I want short, spiky purple hair, she goes, let's go for it. And you know, because she does that, and I feel she knows me, and she doesn't question me and go, oh, do you maybe want to go blonde, or do you maybe want to go brown? I spend an extra $50 every 6 weeks with her. I could go to somebody with comparable experience and pay $50 less. But I don't. And if you take 6 weeks out of a year, $50 times that, that's a lot of extra money I'm paying. And it is not based on what she does. I can get what she does anywhere else. It's based on the relationship and the service she provides me. And that's what we want. Because once it's about relationship, one of the best compliments I get as a supplier is I want Jen to have the order, not I want Polyconcept to have the order. Because then it's not about price. Then it's about the relationship. Price doesn't really come in as much, so it's really worth it to build these relationships. And the way to do it is to ask questions. How do you make the easiest way to make somebody feel important and cared about is to ask them questions. You show concern. You show interest. People give you that feedback. If you're smart, you write it down. I had a spreadsheet that I wrote down all the key things and asking questions about people so that I could relate to that when I was talking to them. It reinforces those relationships. But when we're talking about streamlining that quote process as well, having a targeted questioning really lets you target your quote and streamline that quote. So now you're not spending hours and hours and hours and hours working on something. And you actually can get right down to it and get something out to them quickly. And that's what we want to do. So I can actually take that information gathering, and over the years, I've streamlined that into 2 H's and 2 W's. And anybody who's worked with me regularly, Diane, you've probably had me come back and you've asked for quotes, and I've said, I need more information. I'm actually pretty brutal on this. I will not quote unless I have information, period. So we have 2 H's and 2 W's for this. Anybody want to have a guess at what they are? Oh, awkward silence again.
How many? How many?
Yes.
When?
Good.
What?
Pretty close? Yep. Okay. Oh, you guys are sharp. Monday morning, 9 o'clock. You guys are good. First one, how much do they want to pay? Can I tell you as a supplier how many times I've had distributors ask me to quote a project and not give me a budget? I would say 50% of quote requests do not include a budget. Seriously, I'm not lying about that. It's true. Obviously, and you know what? I'm going to absolutely refuse to quote you completely. I'm going to say, come back to me with a budget. Because when I first started in the industry, you'd get those opportunities, a 50,000 piece opportunity, and you're so excited before you're jaded, right? And you're so excited for this opportunity. And I would go, and I would spend days. They'd say, I need this by Thursday at noon. And at that point, you're going, all right, and I'm going to go, and oh, this would be perfect for that, and this, and this, and this. And I'm going to go get virtuals, and I'm going to ask them if they want samples, and I'm going to send the proposals. It's going to take me days to put this together. And then I found out every single item I proposed was over budget. Well, there goes that excitement. Oh, are you kidding me? So then I throw out something in 2 minutes. It's, a padfolio with a pen. What was my mistake? I didn't get a budget. And part of me wanted to go, well, you didn't tell me how much, but then I have to think, well, I didn't ask. And I see it all the time, especially on big quotes. I see distributors going and spending days and putting stuff together. without getting all that vital information. How many pieces? Do you know that I do encounter people who will ask, I have actually gotten this. Hey, Jen, I've got a customer who has a company picnic. Can you send me some ideas? No. No, I can't. I can't send you any ideas. And then I'll say, okay, sure, absolutely, I have some questions first. What's the budget? Oh, I don't know. Okay. How about how many pieces are they looking at? Oh, they don't know yet. Sorry, I'm not quoting you. This is probably the most difficult of the questions to ask, but it's probably one of the most key. I think about my line. I have 3,000 products in leads alone, and then add another 2,500 for bullet, and then there's journal books on top of that. I have a wide range. If you tell me, oh, I need 300 pieces in the $20 price point, oh, and by the way, can you tell us if it's net or sell right away? That really helps too, because 40 points makes a big difference in your quote. I can probably pull up about 50 items in that price point with that quantity. So if you can find out from your customer who or what is it for. So who's it for? The industry, perhaps. You know, if it's for the oil rigs, you're probably not going to quote the Sophia tote, which, you know. So you've got to know who it's for. But more importantly, what message do they want to convey with their promotion? So it might be for the oil rigs, but it might be a promotion for their wives. So you can't assume, oh, we want manly, tough tools. Because what if it's something that they want to give to their wives? So these kinds of questions really help. So now I've gone from 50 items that are a possible target. Now I've really slimmed it down because I know these X items are not going to work for the message they want to portray. Now, this is actually going to get your end user thinking, because I'll bet you 90% of them have no idea. So it's also good for them. And then you look like a superstar as well. They're going to go, wow, that person's on the ball. Oh, I got to think this through. They're really going to get me something good. They're really interested in my project. Look at all these questions they have. This is great. And then, of course, the last one is, when do they need it? And this is the one question nobody knows half the time. And I'm going to pose a question to you distributors for sure, because it's actually I have an opportunity to find out this. But when do they need it? Do they know that if they have a large project and they can give us 5 months, that we can sometimes save them 30% because we can go overseas? Well, they may not know that, so they haven't told you the real in-hand date. Or we might find the perfect product. I mean, it's perfect, but it's out of stock for a month. But if we know that their event date is in 2 months, we can still quote that perfect product. And we don't miss out. So that's kind of where I go, 2 H's and 2 W's. Now, often I'm kind of feisty. I definitely challenge my distributors. They know. When I throw it back and say, I need this information, I can't quote you without it. And I'm really firm on that. Like, I really won't. I'll say, well, if you have to go to, if you have to go to my competitors, that's fine. But I'm not wasting my time. This is where you don't waste time in your day. Because my thought is, if an end user can't give you 3 of these 4 basic pieces of information, do you guys honestly think the project is valid? If a customer can't tell you a budget or how many pieces they want, is it valid? No, they're sniffing around. They're waiting for you to come up with a whole pile of ideas from which they can select 3 and then put it out to an entire client base to get samples, specs, and pricing. Don't waste your time. If they don't trust you enough to give you all of that information, it's not valid. But I'm amazed at how many distributors do not ask this information. And I wonder why. Why is that a challenge? Because from my perspective, I guess I'm kind of aggressive, so I don't see that as a challenge. But from my own understanding, is it a challenge to get information from end users? Yeah? Do they not understand? Like, is it because they want to be secretive, or is it that they honestly do not know? They just have this idea floating in their head and they want to get it. Yeah? More the latter, they just really don't have a clue, and it's up to you guys to, well, I'll tell you, having those 4 questions at hand can really get them thinking. If you say, hey guys, you know what? Can you answer these 4 questions and get back to me tomorrow? and I'm going to get you something right away once I have that. Because it's really in their best interest, because they don't have time either. And if you send them 50 suggestions that don't meet anything they're looking for, you've wasted their time too.
I find if you just say it in a different way, if you're not getting the answers you want, just keep talking to them and you'll get them.
You will get them?
Yeah.
They have to sort of sometimes figure it out.
Process it.
Yeah.
And if they are serious, and they do have a project on the go, they will have those answers for you. You just have to ask them.
You have to ask. That's the biggest thing. We don't ask. We don't ask. They give us a project and go, yeah, let me go quote that. We don't turn around and go, okay, da. And I think it saves a ton of time if you have that. Because then you know, most supplier websites now, you can just put in a price point and it pull up suggestions. And if you know who or what is it for, you can eliminate them pretty quick and go. So this is a huge time saver. This is one of my favorite parts of this streamlining, as I'm sure you can tell. Spend a lot of time on it. Okay, leveraging supplier knowledge. You want to save time on your quote. I'm sure there are suppliers you trust and some you don't. The ones that you trust, how much time are you saving if you never have to do the quote? Customer gives you the, and then you just hand it off. Well, I'll tell you, the way I worked with my distributors is you give me the information, let me take it, and I'm going to tell you why. Why it's a good idea. First one, we want you to sell our products. We want to help. I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but it's true. You are not bugging us. This is our job. We want to help you sell our products. It's a competitive industry. We want to help. I only need to know 3 lines. You guys need to know, what, 100 plus? So when these big quotes come through, are you guys actually pulling out all your main suppliers and flipping through catalogs and websites, all of those to try to get the product? Why not just shoot off an email to your top 5 suppliers and say, here's my 2 H's and 2 W's, send me what you got. And then you just have to go through the best of those and quote it to your customer. It's off your plate. So 2 minutes of work gets rid of a day's worth of work. Let us. We're getting paid to sell our product. So, you know, let us do that work for you. I always like to consider, I know myself, and I'm sure other suppliers are the same, I'm an unpaid employee of yours. So why, though, use our knowledge? Inventory. I know what's got a container delay. I know if maybe there was a lot of waves on the ocean and some stock got soaked in water and maybe it's a little moldy. I know this information. I know what's going on with my product. Hot sellers. I know what's selling. And odds are, if it's a real hot seller, your customer's going to want to know about it too. Because that means the masses are buying it, so they should probably know. Out-of-the-box ideas. That's me. Purple hair, the new blonde. We had to come up with internal slogans at our company. And it was kind of fun. And the slogan they came up with made, like taglines, she's so out of the box, she's a circle. But you laugh. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone and picked up product that might have been really bizarre. But they go, oh, this is perfect. I wouldn't have even thought of this. But because I only need to know this, I don't have to know all of this. I have a much deeper breadth of knowledge of what I'm selling. And I can also tell you how many times I've quoted something, people, oh, I didn't know you guys carried that. Well, because you have to know 100 lines. I only need to know 3. So leverage that knowledge. But I think the most important one is the one I don't want you to tell my manager about. I know what you don't want to buy. And you might think it's selfless because I love all of you so much, but no, it's completely selfish because I don't want a nightmare in 3 months either. I know if there's a product, I hear the internal web and gossip in the business, in our company, you know, we hear stuff. And if I've had people come to me and ask to quote 10,000 units or something, I've said, no, go to my competitor. I know there's an issue with it. And that is probably the most important thing, because the worst thing in the world is to get your customer a product and find out we don't have stock. They finally get it, and it breaks. So trusting your suppliers and leveraging their knowledge as yours, well, there's a ton of time taken off your desk. We do the work for you. We are your free employees. So think about the powerful combination. And what's the 2 H's and 2 W's? Who and when. Perfect. So think about that powerful combination of leveraging suppliers' knowledge. So if you get the 2 H's and 2 W's, and then blast that out to your top even 5, 10 suppliers and say, tell me what you got, well, we're going to tell you what we got. And then instead of wading through 100 catalogs, you've got the top trusted people you work with every day telling you, here's what you should quote. And you just have to slim through that and go. So really, I think you've reduced hours and hours and hours of work into 1 hour. 2 minutes to get the email out, and then about 45 minutes or so to go through the emails and pick what you like out of it. What do you think? Do you think that would save you guys a lot of time? Yeah. And you guys hesitate to use us, to leverage us. But you're never bugging, because we make money when you sell our products. So it's never bugging. This is what we're supposed to do. We want you to sell our products.
And you're always so good at returning calls.
Well, I
have
think
to say that.
you have to be. Our industry, I think, is the most time-sensitive industry out there. You know, I just bought a new car on Saturday. It's a V6. And the reason I switched dealerships, which is almost unheard of. The reason I did that is because I ended up at another dealership because my car tire blew up, and they fit me in immediately to fix my tire. They remembered that I didn't like the car I had. I was chatting with the service person. I hated my car. I hated it. I was in desperate straits. That's why I bought it. And she remembered that, and so they had a private sale going on this weekend. And even though I'd never bought a car at this dealership, I'd only ever changed a tire there, I got a personal invite to come in because they had remembered. But you want to talk about time sensitive? Not at all. Time sensitive to get you to sign on the dotted line, but I now have to wait 2 weeks for my car. But for us, if you have an RFP, you got to get that out immediately. Like, you do not have time. Because if you're not meeting your customer's deadline, they're going to go to somewhere else, because loyalty doesn't exist in our industry that much anymore. That's why that relationship is so important. And so we want to make sure we're helping you hit your timelines too, because, yeah, RFP season, 4th quarter, yeah, we're working till 9 and we look like the crazy guy. And we are all in this industry together to help each other. Limiting the options. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen our 2012 catalog. It's almost 600 pages. Next year it's going to come with a complimentary Sherpa, so you can carry it around. Can I tell you, somebody outside of industry, I think that's an intimidating piece of machinery. It does have tabs now, but that doesn't make it much better. And I can't tell you the number of people, when I say, oh, what you got going on? It's like, oh, I just visited my top end user and I dropped off your catalog. Holy crow. I'm thinking, if I've never been in this industry and somebody walks in with a 600-page catalog and says, tell me what you like, that's going to be a wee bit intimidating. And they're not going to know where to go. They're going to be like, ooh, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. We're the experts. A 600-page catalog is really never meant to go directly to an end user. That's your resource, because look at the options. It's huge. Or I see people quote 50 items for a project. And that's akin to throwing a pot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Well, there's an image. Boy, oh boy, my customer's going to buy the product that's stuck to the wall. Ugh. But that is what most people do. That is, I would say, in my experience, 95% of distributors do that. So how do you make yourself a little bit different and save time in your day? Because it's all about being memorable, as far as I'm concerned. It's not about being the best. It's about being memorable. I try to suggest only 4 options. And people who work with me know I don't often send like, I send. Because again, I'm going to leverage my knowledge on what people are buying, on what you don't want to buy, on all that, and I'm going to give you options. So this is where I like to try to go. Oh, that's interesting. I have little R's. The original doesn't have that. Good. So they've given you your budget and your quantities and all that. So you maybe quote something a couple bucks under that budget. It's the good option. But you're going to look good because you might be saving them a little bit of cash. And in today's economy, that's pretty important. Then we get the one little better, and they go, ooh. And then they go the best, which is right at the budget, everything they're looking for. This is the one I always get beat up on. Because they go, Jen, you just told me my first R is how, or my first H is how much. Why did I get a budget if you're going to quote over it? In my experience, 60% of my orders come from the one over the budget in my quotes. Because we all know they're lying about their budgets. They're always lying about those. They don't. If you find the perfect product for them, and your supplier leverage knowledge will, and those 2 H's and 2 W's will certainly help you get there, they always find the money for it. Maybe it comes off the print budget, but they will always shell out for it. If it's perfect, get a virtual, put their name on it, they're in love. It's a done deal. So always quote one over the budget. But there's really no need to quote 50 items for a project. Because the end user is going to go, in fact, I'm going to share a story. I absolutely know of a distributorship who is losing business to their competitor because for an RFPs, they quote 50 items per, and their competitor's quoting 10. And the way this works is if they like the product one distributor's quoted, they have to go with that distributor. So what's happening is because they're incredibly busy, they're automatically looking at who's giving them the least amount of product to look at first. If they find something they like there, everything else is scrapped. They know they're going to spend hours looking through somebody else's quote. That's the last one they look at. Because they're just as busy as we are. So that's kind of where we go. So what was the second H? Good job. My goodness. That's great. So yeah. So where I like to go is I really think this is a 3-punch rule. You start off, you got your 2 H's and your 2 W's, you're gathering the information. The customer really feels you're interested in them because you're taking the time to truly dig down. And they go, oh, this person actually cares. Nobody else has asked me my price point. Then you're feeding that to your top suppliers. You're leveraging their knowledge as your own. Obviously, you have to trust them and trust their ideas, but put it right off your desk. And then once you get all those options, limit it to 4. Because end users do not want to wait, and the reason they're going to a distributor is because we are the experts in the industry. They're going to us because we're experts. So let's show them we are. Yes?
I found that, and this was a couple of years ago, asking for their budget sometimes makes them scared, right? They don't want to tell you. So it was better to ask it, I found, can you give me a range?
A range, yeah.
And usually after you get a range, you can find out exactly how much they want to spend.
One of the ways I would address that, too, is because I do work sometimes with end users at top shows and stuff like that, is I say the reason I'm asking is I don't want to send you 50 options. I want to make sure I am targeting the perfect product for you and your event. The only way I can do that is to narrow down your approximate budget and your approximate quantities. And that's going to let me effectively save you time. And then they really can't argue, oh, you're saving me time. Oh, sure, $5. You know. Or you say, I don't need exact, but I do need a ballpark. Yeah, a range. If you ask for exact, I want your exact quantity. Well, it's an event. We don't know exactly how many people are going to be there. Don't worry about that. You know, it ranges, obviously, yes. But I think what's key is sometimes they do get a little bit, why are you asking me all these questions? Like, just quote me stuff. But to be able to explain to them it's in their best interest to do that, and then they go, oh, make it all about them. Then they still feel that much more important. So, 2 H's and 2 W's. How many pieces, how much, and if you are going to dump to your biggest suppliers, please say for the how much, whether it's net or sell. Because if not, then we have to go back and ask you, and that's just extra time. Who is it for, and when do you need it? Those are probably the key things. Not only is it helping you target your quotes, it's really going to help you reinforce the relationship with your end users. Leveraging your supplier's knowledge as your own. So important. So incredibly important. Take it right off your desk. Put it on ours. We're the experts on our product. And finally, limit the number of suggestions. We don't want to give them crud stuck to the wall. We want to make sure we're giving them intelligent, well thought out suggestions. That makes you the expert, and then they're going to be a lot happier going to you the next time and maybe not blowing it out to the entire industry at that point, because you will have elevated yourself to being the expert. That's my talk. Are there any questions, feedback, thoughts? Awkward silence. Excellent.
Do you have any suggestions if you've got a client that knows how many people they've got for their event, knows how much they want to spend, but doesn't have any idea of the product?
Has no idea of the product?
Yeah.
Then you really have to find out who or what is it for, and then it's up to you to work with your supplier to find the product for them. At that point, I would pick 3 pieces that are wildly different, a bag maybe, or a piece of drink, like wildly different items within that budget. Throw it at them very quickly and say, what are your thoughts on these? And if they come back and say, ooh, I like that, or ooh, that's kind of weird, then you've got a little more direction. So yeah, but you have to find out the who or what is it for, the message they want to convey with it, before I think you can truly go and do anything with that.
When you turn down a quotation,
They come back.
right, that's correct. But give us an example of how you would turn that down, because you're working with the distributors,
Yep.
which is the same as us working
Yeah.
with the end user.
I immediately say exactly what I said. I said, I can't quote this. It's going to be wasting your time and my time without the specific information. I want to make sure I'm giving you the best suggestions I possibly can so that you look incredible to your end user. I can't do that unless you give me these 4 pieces of information. So if you could get me that, please, I'm more than happy to quote, or at least get me 3 of the 4. If they can't give me 3 of the 4, I actually refuse the quote, yes. But I have had double-digit growth 5 years in a row in a recession. So I would say that it's actually kind of, I'm not losing business with that approach. I'm streamlining my business and I'm cutting the BS out of it. Because we're so afraid to give up a quote, but if it's not going to make you any money, what's the point? If it's going to cost you more, because how much do you really make an hour? Why do it? It's like, why take a 3-point margin if you're not going to make any money? Why take the order, right? Well, it's the same thing with the quote. If you're going to spend tons of time on an RFP that's not got any details on it, and you're spending days and days and days of your time, well, you could have used that to go prospect and maybe get a great new end user. It's kind of, yeah.
And this, how long does it take you to do it?
Myself? Myself, well, because my company makes it pretty easy to do that. Starting out, it wasn't this way, but of course, 10 years experience, I'm a much better. I can usually whip out a quote in, 5 minutes? I know my product line so well. If I have those 2 H's and 2 W's, I can usually put out a quote 15 minutes of well-targeted ideas. Yep. Yes?
The process that I was hoping, some of the things I was hoping to get out of this is the actual process itself in terms of layout, because
Absolutely.
and all those wonderful things, but it takes me way too long to do it. And I just would like to streamline, like I'm scanning photos.
Use your suppliers' websites. I can only talk to mine, and I have to talk, like I'm not selling my line, but I know on ours you can do things like click it, you can search by price points, you can search by categories, you can select, and I think pretty much all suppliers are like this now, and you can select the pieces, and then you just go to click and compare, and it brings everything up with, not decorating, but it brings up all the colors it comes in, 5 columns of pricing, description, weight, size, everything in a full presentation that you just copy and paste the link into an email to your customer. They click on it, it all pops up. And it takes about 3 seconds to do.
But if you want to have, maybe there's 3 items from your company and 1 item from another company, and I'm
You'd
trying
have to do those separate, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I can't, on the supplier side, I can only talk to how I do it. Unfortunately, I can't really.
Yeah.
But what I wouldn't do, bother with is things like pictures and stuff like that. Myself, how I'd almost do it is set up an Excel sheet that's a template, and then you can just copy and paste. Or like most suppliers have HTML documents you can download or big Excel sheets with all the information that once you've found the product, if you just search it on the spreadsheet, all the information is there for you. And you could just copy and paste that into an Excel sheet of your own, that kind of thing. And just have a database. Pardon?
I have to find that, because that's, my whole process is way too long.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a good point because every supplier, I mean, you guys do it a certain way, which is great.
Yep.
There's a lot of ones that say, use our website, but not everybody does it that way. So you kind of get used to doing it this way, that way. And geez, I have to quote this because then you're throwing all these different things together, and that's where it chews up a lot of your time. It'd be nice if we had a piece of software that we can, like you say, or either Excel or whatever, if anyone wants to develop that, I'll give you $100 for it.
Yeah.
Just to have that nice little piece of, just dump it all in and send it off and make that part easier.
That would, yeah. More what I was talking about was the ideas and getting the products for that quote, yeah.
I can share how,
Yeah.
I can share how I do mine. I'm not saying I'm the expert either. Via email, because that goes probably 85% of my via email. There's just, and it could be with different suppliers I'm working with, there's just hyperlinks. Copy, right, pasting your web page and just saying, okay, here's a leads, whatever style number, and give them 4 ideas. And this is just usually in the initial stages, so that you can kind of get a little bit of an idea, is this the direction you want to head? And just hyperlink it, so you don't have to pick the wrong web address. You want to hyperlink it.
Would you say that end users are now kind of coming up that they don't want the formal done-up quote now, that they're okay with?
Once you get narrowed down a bit,
Yeah?
and then, okay, I found the product, now I can work on exactly what my price is going to be.
And then at that point, put it in. Because most of the hyperlinks have all that information for you.
Just hyperlink right to the web page for that product, whether you need to.
Or Debco, or it's okay, I won't cry, it's fine.
My comment to that
But that's how I go.
is, and we've got to be careful that we don't fall into this pitfall because particularly people that are new to the industry, of course, all of us were at one point,
Yeah.
is that you go ahead and you send that out without checking the supplier versus going to the supplier and getting the quote.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we've sold something but air. They don't have that red water bottle other than in the catalog
Right.
or on the hyperlink. And then we have to start the process over again.
So
I kind of like the whole concept of
leveraging the supplier.
correct.
Well, like I said, that's how we get paid, so we're, you know,
How we get paid. We spend a lot of time, twice the work for the same money.
no,
Nice thing is leads, a lot of suppliers now, you can actually check inventory right on. the
Online.
page.
But can I tell you, 80% of distributors don't do it? That's a pretty basic thing, but no, 80% of distributors do not check stock before they quote. And it's easy to do. But yeah, so that can save you a lot of time later on if you check stock first.
You're already on the page. one click
Yeah,
away.
And now most of them even do freight estimators, so you can have everything right at your fingertips pretty quickly. So, yeah.
What about terms and conditions of your quotes?
I would never put that in the quote. Now, keeping in mind, I'm coming from a distributor perspective, okay, or from a supplier kind of. But I don't think you need to get there until you get to the nitty-gritty. Don't overwhelm them. They're looking for a quote. They're looking for a quote on product. Get the product, then talk terms and conditions. Just like I actually am an advocate for never putting freight in a quote. Because, well, not just that, but it's always subject to change too. And why? Half of the time they want to put on their own. You could say, I'm a huge advocate of quote the product, quote the decorating they want, and then you put at the bottom, freight is additional. If they want the quote, they'll ask for it. But then you also have to make it very clear, because I've seen people get really messed over on freight. So I do not advocate put as little in it as possible. It's like PowerPoints. Keep them naked. Because we are appealing to the masses. So the lowest common denominator. And frankly, as anybody in advertising will tell you, that denominator's low. So the KISS for quotes, I think, is the KISS philosophy. Keep it simple. I hate that word, but keeping it simple is, I think, the way to go. And that'll save you time, too. Why give them a whole ton of information they haven't asked for? Streamline that, too. They'll ask you. Don't worry. Well, they won't ask you about credit because they want stuff for free. But they will absolutely ask you if they want to get freight and all that. And then you can say, okay, well, let's narrow it down to 3 products, because I have people who want a freight quote on 15 items. Can you give me the freight quote on these 15 items? No. No, I can't. Please come back to me with 5. Then I'll give you the freight quote. Because 15 items with a freight quote is throwing spaghetti on the wall again. Don't waste time. If they say, if your end user comes back, we like these 15 items, say, can you please come back to me with your top 5? I'll get you the freight quote then. And by standing up a little bit and being a bit more assertive, I find that endears respect. And you can't have a crazy business relationship with somebody without mutual respect. And if they're a real bully and they want to stomp on you all the time anyway, better off they go somewhere else. Because they're probably wasting your time anyway. Because it's always the people who do the least amount of business that bug you the most. At least that's been my experience. So this is great feedback, by the way. I'm really enjoying this this perspective. It's a perspective sometimes as a supplier we don't always get. So this is really great.
There is something that you went over, but it was a good point, and how you, when you're giving the good, better, best, and over budget,
Yeah.
it's always important to go from the less to the more expensive, because they fall in love with the other one at the end. You know, the
Yep.
less they look at.
And that's what you want them to do. Because frankly, I do not leave money on the table. Money belongs in my pocket. Money does not belong on the table. So that's why I always do it. I hate the thought that I've given up $2 to something. I want that $2 in my pocket. So, yeah.
It's more of a kind of a question to the room. I'm a new member of the association here, so I haven't had a chance to come up around yet. But the Promocan website, how effective is that? Like relative to, I mean, obviously this is a great way to do it, throw it out to suppliers, but is anyone using the Promocan and using it for this sort of thing? Yeah. Is there a way to at least get a short list of things and then take it from there and then go to the suppliers if you're looking for something? Yeah.
But you should have a really good knowledge of who your top suppliers are anyway. Because you may end up in your search, and this is the one thing I hear feedback-wise on it, in your search you may end up with suppliers you don't necessarily want to work with, but then your customers see the product, fall in love, and you're stuck.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden you're caught into something where they may not deliver when they say they're going to deliver, quality may not be as good, shipping may be.
You don't have terms with them, or that kind of thing. So I think broad spectrum searches are fantastic ways. And if you have the 2 H's and 2 W's, that makes it a lot easier to do that as well. But then make sure when those results come back, you're not just sending those results directly to your end user. Make sure you're working with the suppliers you truly want to work with. Because end users go and source on the internet and say, can you find this floppy thingy? And it's some guy from the U.S. who's never heard of Canada and has no idea what FOB means, you know. Hear about that too. We hear a lot as suppliers. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So what's the 2 H's and 2 W's? Perfect. Huh? I think that's it. I think we've done, well, thank you so much for your incredible, incredible response and feedback, and for being here at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. And I just wanted to challenge you all to try and use these, and let me know how it works for you.
Jennifer, thank you so very much on behalf of PPPC and our members for sharing this knowledge and great information.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.